Hello, and welcome to the Engage Bootcamp training series. My name is Courtney Lakaitis. I'm the program manager to student organizations in the Office for Student Involvement and Leadership. Today, I'm going to show you how to manage the roster of your campus department profile. The first thing you'll want to do is log on to Engage, and you can do that by going to wright.edu/engage. You will then use your W number credentials to log into the profile. From here, you'll see the homepage, and you can click on the little icon here. We call it the hamburger menu. It's in the upper left-hand corner. That will expand out the entire menu for the platform. So the top piece of this menu is always going to be the same, where your organizations list is going to be specific to your memberships and what you're involved in. For today's purpose, we'll go over the roster for student involvement and leadership, and you'll see that there's a gear icon next to the platform for me to manage. If you don't see that gear icon, please send me an email and I'll help you out with that. Sometimes if you don't have the correct permissions, you won't be able to see that, and that's totally fine. We can get you set up. So go ahead and click on the gear icon. You will see the organization tools menu pop out, and you'll go ahead and click on roster. There are several pieces of the roster that we're going to go over, which include managing positions, inviting people, pending, prospective, and ending memberships. I'm going to start with managing positions first so that whenever you invite people, you can give them the correct position that you need to have for their role. So go ahead and click on the Manage Positions button at the top here. And you will be brought to a list of positions that may or may not be visible on your page. Every profile will always have member and primary contact, as those are positions that we create from the admin side. You as a campus department have access to assign whatever additional positions that you see here as organization created. You can assign those positions and create them on your own. So for the example today, we're going to use what I love to call an honorary SIL member. So to do that, I'm going to click on the Create Position button here at the top. I also will warn you that I'm going to mute my sound for whenever I type, because my typing is excessively loud and I don't want you to be distracted by how loud the typing is. So just to give you a heads up, if you see my screen like mute and unmute, that's just what I'm doing. So, okay. So you'll see here that you have the opportunity to put in a position name. So let's go ahead and put in that SIL honorary member. Okay, so the other thing that you'll see here is position type, which is member or officer. You can choose whatever it is. I'm sure it's somewhere in Engage that matters, but for the sake of your position and for your office, it doesn't matter. If I ever find out what the true difference is, I'll let you know. You also can make sure that this is active. So you want to make sure that this is something that you can currently add people to. And that happens as a default setting. So if you want to do that, keep it there. And then this is something that's new. And if you want to receive organization contact form emails, you can click that button. I do not know what exactly this means yet. So I've not read the release notes on it. So you don't have to include this now, but you can always make edits and change that later once we figure out what those details actually mean. Okay. Awesome. So set management access. There's always going to be 3 levels of access. No access, which means that when people pull up the hamburger menu, their gear icon turns into an eyeball icon. Or you can have like the gear icon, which is through all access or limited access. So if you have a position where you just want people to, be a part of your profile, maybe you're going to include, let's say that this is the COLA page, and you're going to include all of the English majors as a part of your profile. You could, in theory, put up as the position name, English major 2023 to 2024, and give them no access. All it does is indicate to us that on the back end that they held a position of an English major from 2023 to 2024, and it shows up on their profile in their transcript, but it doesn't allow them to manage anything on your profile. If you want to give somebody all access, that means that they have every piece of access that you would have. So whenever you click on the gear icon and you see all of these tools, that's what you'll be able to see, or what they will also be able to see. So if you trust people in your office, maybe you have a student worker or a graduate assistant, if you have an intern that you really trust, or maybe you just want to give the all access to a couple of people in your office, that is also totally fine. You can go ahead and do that. And then lastly is limited access. Limited access gives you a drop down of all of the tools that we see through our hamburger menu and through the gear icon. And there are 3 levels of access within this. So there's none, which means there's no access to this specific tool. You can view it, but you can't edit it. And then there's full, which means that you can edit the tool. So for honorary member, let's say that we want people to have full access to the events. We want them to be able to view documents. Maybe they need to have full access to forms, and we want them to be able to view the profile. There's nothing else that they need to worry about. They don't need to worry about they don't need to worry about the messaging or the news or roster or anything like that. However you see fit to the permissions is perfectly fine with me. If you want to get specific, that's great. And if you don't, that's also great. I don't want you to feel like you have to copy everything that I do. I want you to be able to explore and have the opportunity to really understand your profile and the permissions that you're giving everybody. So however it makes sense to you, please do that. So once you've decided on all of the access that you're going to give this specific position, you're going to click the create button. So now you will see that honorary SIL member comes up as an organization created position for a member that is active. Great. Okay, so whatever positions you need to and want to create, just go ahead and keep creating those positions. If you have enough positions that you feel like you've got your office clerk and maybe your staff, and you just want to keep it at staff and you don't want to get too complicated, you can do whatever you feel is best for you. We clearly have several types of positions here, and so however you see fit to do that is perfectly fine. In the case that maybe you have a position that you once needed, and let's say that now we're not going to recognize any honorary SIL members, you can go ahead into the position and you can click inactivate from there, and then you can save. And it will show you that the position is inactive. So any person who had this permission on their profile, it will no longer show up for them. So that's all that means. Okay? All right. So going back to the roster, we are then going to do our next piece, which is inviting people. So in the instance that we are going to invite some people, you're going to click on the invite people button. I know, crazy. And you will see here that you may enter up to 500 email addresses in the text box below. You want to make sure that you're providing it either in a list where you have one per line, or separate them by column or by a comma. And if you have a list of emails from a spreadsheet, you can just copy and paste that and set it right into here, and all of those email addresses will show up. So in the case that I'm going to invite, let's say that I'm going to invite 3 people. I'm going to invite Courtney, I'm going to invite Debbie, and I'm going to invite Gina to the platform. This is what it would look like. Whoops. Okay, so I've put in their email addresses, and I'm going to click add email addresses. You will then see that you have the option to add them as those positions that we just went over. So in the instance that I am inviting everybody as an honorary SIL member, when Engage emails these 3 individuals, to invite them to the SIL profile on Engage, and they accept the invitation, the permissions of honorary SIL member will automatically show up in the roster for them. So it takes one step of work off for you. Now, let's say that you don't really know what the positions are. You know that you just need to get the people invited to the platform. Like that is going to be your first step, and that's going to be your first goal. You can just keep it as member. And you can just have those 3 sitting here, and it'll just be the same thing. Every person on the roster is listed as a member by default, and then you can add them to a position to show a specific role that they held for however much time that you gave them the permissions for. So once you've decided that you have all your people that you need to invite, and you need to give them or not give them the positions, you'll go ahead and click the blue invite button. I'm not going to click it only because these people already exist on the profile, but just know that when you click send invitations, an email does get sent to their email address. The email comes from Engage, so sometimes I have had people say that the email ends up in their junk or their spam or their other folder. So if people don't have the emails in like their focused folder on Outlook, have them look around in different areas. Sometimes Engage gets flagged by weird things for our email. So just know that that's a thing. If you want to do, let's say that Gina had a different position than Debbie and Courtney did. You can invite just, maybe Debbie and I are the graduate assistants. You can send us as an invitation for just the graduate assistant position. And then you can, Then maybe it's not going to let me. Nope. And then you can just send Gina as like one specific thing. You can add her. You could add her as a separate email for this. So. Does that make sense? I hope so. Send the invitation, either give them the position or don't, and then we can assign it later. If you don't, it's totally fine. Okay, so going back to the roster, the next piece that we're going to focus on is your pending invitations. So a pending invitation is when you send an email or an invite to someone to join the profile. So I'm going to click on our pending tab, and you will see here that there are no pending invitations. That's totally fine. There are some people who, if there are like list here of people who have the invitation is still listed as pending, you will see their name and a little checkbox described here. I'll do it here on this one. So this is for our Division of Student Affairs. There's some people who have not been added to the platform yet. So what you can do is you can click on their name and resend the invitation. Or let's say that person is no longer in the division or no longer with the university. You can also just delete their invitation. So just know that when you send an invitation, it gives you this whole list of people, and you can remind them to join your profile or just delete the invitation if it's no longer applicable. Okay, our next thing here is going to be our perspective. Now, your perspective is when people get on to Engage and they see the SIL page and they're like, oh my gosh, I've been in SIL's office like every day this week. I'm working on getting involved in organizations, or maybe I just really connected with the office after first weekend, like whatever it might be. They will be able to join the profile. And so all of their invitations for them to say, I would like you to accept my invitation, is going to be in the perspective list. So again, very much like the pending list, there's going to be their name when they requested to do it. And then there'll be like a little option here, and you can either accept or deny the request. Now, from Anthology's perspective, their opinion is that any student who invites or who joins your profile and asks you to accept their invitation, that you add them. Because what you can do is you can send them direct messaging through the messaging button here, and you can get specific based off of their permissions and the positions that they hold. That is completely up for you to decide. I am not going to tell you how to manage the roster of your profile. If you think that it makes sense for, like, again, with the COLA example, that you think it makes sense to have all of the English majors on there and you want to send them direct messaging through, it is via email, but you want to send them direct messaging and you can do it on the Engage app, great. Go ahead and do it. If you are saying, nope, this is actually just for our office and for this first year of getting acclimated with Engage, we're going to keep it to just the staff and student workers and graduate assistants of our office, that is also totally fine with us. However it makes sense to you, makes sense for us, just know that there are multiple ways that you could manage your roster and have people be a part of your roster with or without positions. Okay, and then the last thing here is we're going to go to the removing of members. So you can either end memberships or end all memberships. If you click end all memberships, it's going to remove every single person except the primary contact. But if you know that, let's say that Alexia and Ashanti and Dylan, they've all graduated or they're not returning to our office, you can select their names and then click end memberships from there. It will remove them from the platform or from the specific profile, and on their profile's information, it will show that their membership has ended and that they held a position from a start date to an end date, and they can just have that information available to them. However, it makes sense for you if you want to keep track of, and I think this is where it gets tricky with the prospective list and, do you invite everybody and how do you manage taking everybody off, and is that too much work, and however that makes sense, that's something for you all to consider and to think about later on. Don't bite off more than you can chew in your first year of learning how to do this. If it takes a couple of years for you to figure out what works best, that's perfectly fine. But just know that there's a lot of different ways that you can do this. And then the one other thing that I want to mention to you is you'll again see here that Emily Yantis is a member of our office, but she does not currently have any position. So that means that Emily came on to Engage, she clicked join to the platform, and then we accepted her invitation. If we wanted to give her any positions that are relevant or not to her access, you can go ahead and click on the blue pencil next to her name, and then you can select those positions from here. So we put her down as an honorary member. We removed that, just kidding. So let's say that she's an intern. You'll click intern and click save, and it will show up for her. If, again, when you add people to the roster, they automatically become a member. So them having a blank position in the positions column just means that they're a member, and again, they have no access to it. So I hope this was helpful. I know that the roster is a little intense, so if you need additional information or if you want to talk through anything, please let me know. I'm happy to help you in any way that I can. I would recommend inviting at least your staff and maybe your student workers and a GA if that's relevant, and an intern if that is also relevant to your office, and just start playing in a small way. Start playing with their positions and what permissions you want to be able to give them, and then we'll get moving on to the next piece. So thank you again so much for your attention and for following along in this training, and I look forward to continuing to work with you and work with the Engage platform throughout the next year. Have a great day.